Hi, I'm Macey Levan, and I'm here with Dr. Jeffrey Stern from NYU Langone Health. He's a transplant surgeon and one of our pioneers in xenotransplantation. And we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming International Xenotransplant Association meeting that will be held in Geneva, Switzerland, as well as some exciting advances in the field. So thanks for joining me, Dr. Stern.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
I am a clinical kidney transplant surgeon, and I am highly involved in all of our xenotransplant studies at NYU.
So how did you get involved in that?
Ooh, it's been a long time coming, and all of my research during my general surgery was in xenotransplantation, and then I went back and did my transplant fellowship, and I was very fortunate to coincide with when Dr. Montgomery and our whole NYU team was doing our decedent studies, and I've been part of it ever since.
Let's break that down. Decedent studies. What is a decedent study?
So a decedent is someone who wanted to donate their organs, but for medical reasons was not determined to be not a candidate to donate their organs. Mm-hmm. And we provided another option for those donor families to be able to donate their loved one's body to a study. And in this case, it was a xenotransplantation study.
And so the person wanted to be an organ donor. They could not be an organ donor. Their family agreed to participate in research that allows your team to basically do a transplant with a modified pig kidney?
Exactly.
Right, into that human. And what do you learn from that?
We are able to in-depthly study the xenotransplant in circulation with a human body. And the immune system is active. We're able to see the responses. We're able to see how the xeno organ changes over time. Mm-hmm. And we've never had the granularity of the data that we're able to get from these studies. Primate studies, you can get a lot of things, but you can't sample at the frequency. You can't do the therapies that we do in normal humans. Mm-hmm. We're in essentially a normal clinical environment, and we can do everything that you'd be able to do to a human to a decedent. And so we can treat, modify, see how things react, and see how the human body changes over time with the xeno organ inside.
Wow. How long is a study like that?
So we've done a couple short-term studies, which are about 54 hours each for the kidneys, 60 hours for the hearts, and then we did a long-term kidney study for 61 days as well.
Wow. So that research is still ongoing, even though we're starting to hear about xenotransplant in living patients, right?
Correct. And I think it's even more important now than it was before, because it allows us to continue studying and continue to sort of make changes over time to both the immunosuppression regimen and potentially to the organs themselves to better adapt to the human immune system.
Wow, that's really brave of those families to say yes, and those people to agree for that.
Those are truly the heroes here, and I think that amongst other things that it provides another outlet for those families that are disappointed that they wanted their loved one to be an organ donor, and this is another outlet for them to donate the body to research. A lot of families donate bodies to medical schools for dissection or other sort of reasons, and this allows, because the heart is still beating, another option for study and advancement of science in humans.
Wow, that's really important. So let's talk a little bit about xenotransplantation in living patients. What's your experience with that?
So we have done 2 so far in living patients, and those are both under sort of an experimental use protocols, that these patients were very sick and they were not candidates or very would very infrequently receive organs. Mm-hmm. They were better served for a xenotransplant than for an allo transplant. Mm-hmm. And proposals were sent to the FDA, and we were approved to do sort of single-use cases of xenotransplantation into these patients.
And so now we have some clearance from the FDA to move into some clinical trials, and those are going to start in the United States. What do you know about other places in the world that have done xenotransplants? Have you heard anything else?
Yeah, there's some other countries that have done a couple, especially out of China. We're hearing some reports of xenotransplants happening, especially in the liver realm. And people, I think, are starting to become creative about how xenotransplantation can augment normal care, right? That we can do things that weren't otherwise theorized before because we have these organs available. And that's part of where our first case was, that we, our candidate at the time was not our recipient was not a candidate for a combined heart and kidney transplant, and she wasn't a candidate for either alone as well. And so we were able to put a mechanical circulatory device, an LVAD for her heart, and then perform a xeno kidney transplant after, so that we could help with her volume status, and she had a working kidney afterwards.
Fantastic. So the field is moving quickly. It's advancing. It's been around for many, many, many years, but we're finally at the point where we're seeing xenotransplants happen in patients that are alive, and xenotransplants happening in this decedent model, which your group has pioneered to ensure that we're kind of making really good use of everybody that wants to be an organ donor that can't. Yes. We're giving them an opportunity to participate in this groundbreaking research.
Yes, and then we're obviously on the precipice of human clinical trials as well, which is really the next step in this process to helping more patients around the world.
So we're about to have a big meeting. The International Xenotransplantation Association is part of the Transplantation Society. And that meeting is going to be held in Geneva, Switzerland, I think at the end of September, early October. And you have a big role with that group, right? You're the chair of the Young Investigators group for the Xeno Association?
Not quite the chair, but I'm on the...
You're going to be maybe a future
day,
chair.
But,
yeah.
Raphael Mayer is the chair of the Young
Investigator.
Investigator
I know him too. Fantastic.
Committee. He's amazing. And we, as a group of young investigators, meet quite regularly. We talk about lots of things that we're going to do there and really bring different institutions across the country together. The Young Investigator Committee is composed of really some up-and-comers all over the world who are doing research in xenotransplantation, and we really sort of come together periodically and discuss all of our things, and it's really sort of outside of the limelight of things that we can really talk about sort of how to make progress and kind of where each of us is along the way.
So since you're part of this Young Investigator group, what is the future for xenotransplantation?
Oh, it's very optimistic. As Norman Shumway once said, it was xenotransplantation is the future and always will be, and I really think that we're putting a lot of modifiers on that. And in the last 3.5 years, there's been so much progress made that I'm full of optimism for the future and the field of xenotransplantation, and to be able to help our patients more and more in the future with these organs.
That's awesome. So what are you looking forward to for this meeting, or what are you hoping that the world will get out of this in our space?
So this will be my third IXA, and every IXA I think has become a progressive iteration of more and more knowledge and more advancement, that really this brings all of the people around the world together in one conference to talk exclusively about xenotransplantation. All of the other conferences have sort of xeno sections or little sort of minor updates, but this meeting is fully dedicated to xenotransplantation, and so much happens here, and the expanse of knowledge is really immense during these meetings.
Fantastic. So what advice would you give to the young investigator who wants to get involved in transplantation or xenotransplantation?
I hate to say, the advice that was given to me at the very beginning and has served me very well is be present. And that is the biggest advice I give to all of the medical students that are interested, is there's no substitute for just being present at whether it's bedside rounds, seeing a patient in the operating room, or going to meetings and interacting with people. The physical presence is really sort of, there's no better way to get involved.
No substitute for being present, right? You heard it here. Let me ask you, how has it been attending the World Transplant Congress?
It's been great. Again, the same thing, being present and getting to see all the people that you don't regularly get to interact with, or the people who trained you in the past, and getting updates. And there's a lot of things that happen both in the sessions but also outside the sessions, where you talk about minor points of how you sew in a kidney, or how you position the liver. There are just a lot of different things that happen, and we learn something from every interaction along the way.
Right, so these scientific meetings are great. It's like, an adult science fair. We have these posters, and we have these talks, and we have all these wonderful papers and things that we publish in the Transplantation Journal. How is it to see that science actually inform clinical behaviors and inform what we do to help patients every day? What does that mean for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the times we come up with hypotheses, we come up with ways of testing things, and in our brains we think we know what's right when it hasn't been proven, and then we start to see support of those things at meetings. A lot of people around the world are doing very similar things, and you can get little pieces from all of their different studies, and then that that can support your idea and can promote you doing that research to really prove that point. And then you see it at the next meeting, and then someone's published it or someone goes from there. So these meetings, I think, really serve to bring us all together and see what everyone else is doing to both support where you're going, but also to support your own research with ideas from around the world. Collaboratively, we're much better than we are as individuals.
Perfect, you heard it. Collaboration is key. Join us for the International Xenotransplantation Association meeting. That's going to be in Geneva, Switzerland, and you'll hear a lot more about that meeting on a recap later. So thank you for joining me today, Dr. Stern. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
we'll
thanks.
see you in Geneva.